Happy Monday, degenerates. Welcome on back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host, as always, your boy Clint. And I'm going to need an ass transplant. Mine got destroyed on Saturday. We have had a damn good year, 2023. And you know what? I know YouTube algorithms got that whole thing about not cursing for the first 8 minutes. Boy, did I fuck that up. Here we go. So we have had an absolutely phenomenal 2023. And we are still up 70 some odd units and a little bit of change. But my God, the bad nights this year have been like, oh, we lost 3, or oh, we dropped 2, 3, 4 units tonight. Oh, we'll get it back next week. No. I got obliterated on Saturday. We knew that the Tai Tuivasa pick was risky. We knew that was a sack up and put your balls on the table type of spot. Went for glory with the 3-0 on the 5 unit plays, and oof, that's what I get for going against my guy, Alexander Volkov. I have doubted him now 3 fights in a row, and all 3 fights in a row, he has absolutely destroyed me. Don't turn your back on your fighters. Whenever you get fancy and you pivot and you decide to change your mind on somebody you've been supporting, that's when they get you. That's when they take it all back from you. So I feel pretty embarrassed. The Gabriel Miranda read couldn't have been better. I thought we were flying high again. The way that fight night started, talked about the under 2.5 to start the show. Didn't bet it. They in that fight in the first round. Missed opportunity. But you know what? We're sharp. The reads are on. Gabriel Miranda comes out, sets a UFC record for one of the fastest submissions of all time. Nailed it. We are off and running. The sub special has a check mark on it. We're ready to go. And then it all fell apart. All downhill from there. Straight crash. Where Yzma put your hands in the air from the Emperor's New Groove. We're just straight downhill. No good from there. No good from there. So I have some work to do because I ain't going out like that. Mama didn't raise no bitch. So we're absolutely going to get back on the horse. We're going to get it all back. And then some. We're still on the quest for 100 units in the year 2023. Obviously a bit more of an uphill battle after the recent skid we've on. But I think this is an okay card for us to get right. Welcome everybody into the show. We've already got 40 live viewers. Thank you guys so much. This time of year is a little bit rough. I know with Monday Night Football, we're competing a little bit. So appreciate you all being here. Do me a favor and hit that like button for me. Our guest is set and ready to go. And I'm excited as ever to talk to our guy, Brandon Olivas, about Noche UFC. Brandon, how you doing today, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. My ass is still a little red from the pounding I took on Saturday, but besides that, I'm all set. How are you?
What happened, man? What happened? Tell me what went on.
Just fell completely off the rails, man. I believed in Tai Tuivasa and put a big old fat bet on him to get it done, and that just did not end well. It seems like how every once in a while those guys that are just battle hardened, they go to war and then they kind of get tired of going to war. That felt like Tuivasa to me on Saturday. It just seemed like he wasn't quite the same old guy we're used to seeing in there. But it is what it is. Maybe a bad read. Maybe Volkov's just that damn good.
I think he was the same guy he's always been. I've been the Tai Tuivasa whisperer over the years. I think he was the same guy he's always been. But honestly, when you're fighting a guy who's 7 feet tall, it changes things, right? He's used to the shorter heavyweights that he can eventually break down. He can eventually reach. But a guy that's that tall. And I'm going to be honest with you. I saw your play on that, and I considered it. I was like, all right, maybe this is a spot. Volkov has looked so horrible in all of his last fights. And this fight, he looked amazing. He looked incredible. Like his hand speed, his combination, everything about him looked awesome in this fight. So, no shame in that one there. I thought Tai definitely had a chance. I didn't play him at all. Just for a gut feeling. I was like, man, Volkov's just so tall, but I don't think it's a bad bet.
I'm glad it wasn't just me seeing that Volkov in wins has looked less than ideal, because that's kind of where I was picking up here. As I thought the UFC were setting tie up with a big bounce back type of opportunity, because Volkov maybe a little on the decline, even though he's getting by with a win. Not quite peak Volkov, but man. And then my saving grace would have been the Manel Kopp and Jack Jenkins parlay, but freaking Chepe Mariscal does it again. The freak arm dislocation. I mean, that fight was going to be 1-1 going into the third, but geez, man, I got to stop betting against Chepe apparently.
Yeah, I mean, kid's good. He came a long way. He used to just be like, man, one round of fury, and it was just batshit, and he, whatever. Now he's becoming kind of a complete mixed martial artist. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Exciting card nonetheless. It was fun to watch for sure. Don't know if it was worth the the $80 that you have to throw up there to get that one, but it was good. I'm actually maybe a little bit more excited about this week's card, so let's go right ahead and get on into it. We're talking UFC Noche, folks, and this is the Mexico showcase of all Mexico showcases. Some really fun matchups here on this week's card. First fight of the evening coming to you is Josefine Knutsson taking on Marnic Mann. And this is the weirdest fight on the entire card, Brandon, because we have had, 4 different fights now set up for this one, and we end up with this matchup instead. We had a completely different fight set up and ready to go, and we had a fill-in replacement, original drops out, Knutsson fills in, original fill-in drops out, and now we find a replacement for the replacement, and we end up with a fresh, brand new fight. If you guys don't recall, Knutsson is the girl that we used in a parlay on Dana White's Contender Series. She's Hamzat's girl. Dana didn't give her a contract, even though he's handing the damn things out like Oprah right now. Dana White's like, I didn't see what I needed to see from this girl. Honestly, Brandon, I said this on Twitter afterward. I just think the expectations were too high for her. Like, Dana expected this girl to come in and be Hamzat. And so when she wins a dominant decision, beats this girl pillar to post, no, that wasn't enough. She needed the round 1 finish to show Uncle Dana what's what. They're giving her that opportunity here. She's now in the UFC. She's a beast. She's physical. She hits hard. And Mann is coming in 6-1. Lost on Dana White's Contender Series. She got to win over an LFA to kind of get this opportunity here, but she got taken down and controlled in round 1, put on her back, didn't have anything to offer from that position. I just think she's going to be out-muscled here. I think she's going to be out-physicaled, and frankly, I think Knutsson is going to come with a fury and aggression worthy of Dana White's Contender Series after she didn't get that contract. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. Hold on. I'm trying to pull up. Man, first of all, why do these all have to have Google Chrome to get the streaming service? It's really annoying, man. It really screws with me because my Google Chrome doesn't work for some reason.
What the hell? Do you have a bunch of extensions? If you disable some of those goofy extensions, it works a little cleaner.
I just have a fade, man. Just sometimes. No extensions. All right. Marnic Mann. Yeah, okay. She fought Amber Brown last time. And Amber Brown, so I've known Marnic Mann for a long time. She's a legendary guest on the Daily Bust podcast. So I've gotten a lot of exposure to her there. I think she's married or dating Gage something. Gage, he's a fighter I love to fade too. Montana's finest. Man, going life or death with Amber Brown. Amber Brown actually looked pretty good last time. She was super physical and strong. Actually reminds me a lot of Josefine Knutsson. Had her way with her in the first round. I'm actually good friends with Marnic's manager, and I always ask, like, all right, how's Marnic going to do in this one? How's Marnic going to do in this one? And the thing that he always tells me is, and I quote, she's a mean bitch. And that's true, right? When you watch her fight, that's her game, right? She's not a great striker, traditionally not a great wrestler. She's not even a great cage wrestler. She's just kind of mean, and she stands in there. I will say the fight with Kelsey Arneson was pretty impressive, and honestly, Pauline Macias too, right? She's a good judo girl, like, so she's fought tough girls, strong girls, but she hasn't fought a strong girl that's also got impeccable technique. So Knutsson, man, great kickboxing. Honestly, the grappling she showed me in that last fight, even the cage push, like that kind of stuff is an art too. Just control, strength, agility. I think this one's a no-brainer. I liked Marnic Mann on the LFA scene, but this is a giant step up. Truth be told, Marnic's probably destined for bare knuckle in a few years. So I got Josefine on this one pretty confidently.
Okay, I like it. Do you think she finishes? Do we go inside the distance on this one?
That's the thing. I wouldn't get caught in that trap. I wouldn't put your life savings on in the distance because Marnic is tough. Like if there's anything you have to give Marnic, she is tough. And the one thing about Bruna Brazil is that she was so dynamic in that fight and she had wore her out, and especially with body kicks, right? I think those body kicks were hurting her the worst. And then she went back up to the head. I don't know if Knutsson does that and everything is just a headhunt and Marnic can grapple long enough. I would say probably a finish. I wouldn't put everything into it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards finish myself. Going to be kind of a chalkier card, man, when we look through this one. Definitely
it's worth
feels
it, man.
like
It's worth it, though.
I think so, too. I think it's funny because I'm not really the parlay guy. You know what I mean? I try to do the straight plays. If I can bring the price down inside the distance, that's what I do. I got my ass bit last week on the parlay, just kind of like I talked about. So I try to avoid that more often than not. I think this is a parlay card. And
have some balls, man. It's parlay or die.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can come up with a couple that pay pretty well here. All right, everybody. Next up, we got Charlie Campbell taking on Alex Reyes. And man, Alex Reyes is another one of these guys that I just straight up forgot existed. Like this guy, I had to go back and like remind myself and be like, where the hell did this guy come from? So he's 13-3, and he has not fought in the UFC since 2017. Made his UFC debut against Mike freaking Perry. That was the night where Mike Perry was rocking the absolutely epic mohawk, the king of BKFC. Shout out to Mike Perry. This guy's pretty light on his feet, though. Like reminding myself kind of what he's good at, good outside footwork. Doesn't feel like he likes to get hit all that much. He rolls well, good head movement, decent leg kicks, but he really does the thing where he tries to kind of hit you and then get out of range real quick before you have a chance to snap back. And Mike sent him flying across the cage. Like he just steamrolled this guy, hit him with like an overhand that sent him to the canvas and destroyed him with that knee. Now I know not everybody hits as hard as Mike Perry does, so it's hard to hold against him. But just based on the matchups that guy had in his next couple fights, he feels like cannon fodder to me, man. It feels like the UFC is trying to use him to puff some people up. They matched him up against Nasrat, Peak, Natan Levy, like all guys that you feel like the UFC kind of wants to get behind. That's who they're trying to throw Alex Reyes to when he comes back. Charlie Campbell, 7-2, 28 years old. He's the psychopath that lost to Duncan on Dana White's Contender Series. That, 2-minute barn burner where it looked like he had Duncan out of there and died to one punch. That was this kid right there. He's a Longo MMA fighter, heavy-handed brawler, likes to force that action. I mean, the way he comes forward swinging heavy and wild really kind of reminds me of Matt Frivola, that barely controlled violence type of style with the hard leg kicks on the ends of the combos and things like that. His punches, it's interesting. I want to call them looping, but they're not exactly looping hooks. You know what I mean? Like they're not straight shots, but at the same time, he's not like looping and leaving a big opportunity to counter. I like what I see from Charlie Campbell. He's an interesting prospect here, in my opinion. However, I don't know that I am ready to trust him here in this spot, this long layoff. Got to worry about Reyes with the injury layoff this long. I don't have any interest in playing him whatsoever. It's got to be Campbell or pass for me, but I also don't know that I necessarily want this guy to bust my parlay if he gets banked on the chin again or something. What are you seeing on this one here, man?
You're crazy. You're insane. I don't even know why you would say that. This is like one of the bigger mismatches I would say probably in UFC history.
Okay.
How much Charlie Campbell tape did you watch?
Maybe just his last two.
Yeah, and that's where you go wrong. Man, I bet on Charlie Campbell. My first fight I ever watched was against Nainoa Dung in Bellator, and then my first bet on him was against Nick Giletti in Bellator, and then I bet on him every fight since. Vadim Ogar, Guillermo dos Santos, Chris Duncan, Streaker, every single fight. I know Charlie Campbell. He's a legend in my Discord, man. My Patreon, the stuff that we got going, he's a legend there, right? He's been the guy that we always bet on. And the thing that I love about this guy, he's probably got the biggest dick in the UFC, to be honest with you. The guy just is game. He knows how to fight. Man, his takedown defense is not phenomenal, but he's always getting back up. He's just one of those guys. It's like, man, we got 15 minutes to fight here, so I'm comfortable in every position. He breaks you down with leg kicks. They're phenomenal. The timing on him is phenomenal. And the reason I say the timing on him is really, really good. I'm a big fan of Bazooka Joe. right? And Bazooka Joe, Joseph Valtellini from Glory, he's got the 7 types of leg kicks, right? And my favorite one of all time is whenever someone steps forward, the second they step forward, they can't check the leg kick because their weight is shifting onto the front leg, right? Which leaves them more susceptible. And watch Charlie Campbell. He's super long, he's super rangy, and he waits for those guys to take that one step, and boom, he meets them with the leg kick right away. He is breaking guys down. He knows that he's so long, he can see things coming from a mile away. Like, he doesn't worry about the grappling. He makes very, very, very good decisions. Man, this guy, I think, is going to be just a handful in the division. We've been waiting for him to hit the UFC for a long, long, long time. You're exactly right. Reyes is cannon fodder, right? They were going to put the Jew against him. They love them some Natan Levy. They will give Natan any fight that they possibly can for him to get a win, which is funny because a few years ago, I didn't think he was that good, and he's come a long way, but the UFC loves that guy.
I tried to fade him so hard, man. I wanted to so badly.
Man, you got to flow with it, man. I'm telling you, you got to just flow with it. We try to be rigid on these things, and we try to see things that we're like, man, I don't know. For me, it was Cortez Silva. That was one like a few weeks ago where everything.
No, for you, it's Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah, it's still that, and I might be done with that. And watch, by the time I'm done with it, now it's going to go the other direction. But Cortez Silva, man, I'm like, man, I hate her style. I hate everything she does. And then fight day came around, and I just said, dude, I've been in this spot so many times before. She's going to win. She's just going to do it. And somehow she found a way to win, right?
You just got to throw the towel in.
This Charlie Campbell inside the distance is a no-brainer to me here. Every time that Reyes is circling on the outside, skirting the edges, he's going to be chopping him down with low kicks. His hands are so clean. I really don't worry about his chin. He has fought, I know he got bonked by Chris Duncan, but that was him trying to murder somebody. And people don't realize that most of the knockouts come when you are trying to murder somebody. When you're fighting calculated and smooth like he usually does, you're good. Right? You see everything in front of you. It's the punches you don't see are the ones that kill you. So watch any of his other fights. To be honest with you, there's this guy, Vadim Ogar, who he fought. Vadim Ogar might be one of the guys that's like the best hammer in the world and the worst nail. It's not even close. He's 5-6, but the guy has like really good skills. Like skill for skill, he's probably a UFC level guy, but he's 5-6. And dude stuck right in the pocket with him and knocked him the fuck out. So I think Charlie Campbell, man, I think this is one of the bigger mismatches I've seen in the UFC since anybody fought Jerome Rivera. I like me some Charlie Campbell inside the distance here.
Okay. All right. And that's why we bring the experts right here on the show. You guys, Brandon already given us some heat here. We're cooking with gas. You love to hear it. I'm going to have to wait. It looks like Campbell's not even up at a lot of books right now, man. A lot of these lines are not available yet on the U.S. market side for some reason. So
he's minus 400, and that's about 10 times less what it should be. He should be minus 4,000.
Yeah. I hear you. So you can get a nice, minus 200 here on Knutsson plus Campbell in a parlay. So we'll keep building. We'll build our way up to it. We'll get working. And you know what? I got to shout out my guy in the chat, Dix Insider. He says, we need some inside info on Casey Tanner for tomorrow night's contender. Ask him and get some nuggets. So folks, generally, if you're a training partner, if you're in the gym with somebody, you're not allowed to, sports bet. You don't want to step on any toes when it comes to info and betting on people. But if there is anything at all that you can share and get away with it, Brandon, the people want to know about Casey Tanner a bit.
Come on, guys. You guys should know that we just shot a Contender Series podcast, and I gave my whole thing about Casey Tanner yesterday on our Contender Series podcast. But on the real, man, Casey's a close friend of mine. I trained with Casey for a very, very long time. This is how I kind of described him yesterday. He is so funky. He doesn't get tired. He is a bulldog. He throws crazy knees. He is so calm, cool, collected in the pocket. Sparring with him is a really unique experience because you're in there going, man, this guy's so shredded. I'm going to have to fight for my life. You swing on him everything you can, and he just covers, and then you think he's play sparring. Like you think he's just chilling. But he will dog you out. He'll press forward the entire time. His wrestling is phenomenal. His top game is phenomenal. And most of all, man, he's just he scrambles. He scrambles. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 12 years, and I can roll with almost anybody. And he still puts me in a lot of positions where I have no clue where we're at, but he does because he's been there so many times. So, man, I really hope he does well. Santino's up in his corner. The weight cut went really, really smooth. He's big, man. He's a thick ass 35er. So I'm really excited for the guy, and I hope he kills it.
Love to hear it. And I love the plug for the Dana White's Contender Series content. Definitely one of the shows I listen to every single week. I'm usually studying right up until podcast time on Mondays. So Tuesdays, I hit up your show. I always make sure to listen to John Kelly and definitely listen to like Gordo and Narco. There's a couple people out there making awesome shows, but yours is one that must be mentioned here for sure.
Appreciate it, man.
Of course. All right. Let's keep it moving. Next up, speaking of fight ready, we got Tracy Cortez taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. And I'm going to make this one real easy for you guys. First bet I made on this card, I made weeks in advance. So I can't claim that it's this one. But first bet on this card that I made this week, since I started the tape study, was none other than Miss Tracy Cortez. Now, I got a bad line. The market disagrees with me. I laid minus 125, 2.5 units, ready to go on Cortez, and she's down to even money, or minus 105 in some places. The people are loving themselves some Jasudavicius. And folks, I will say this every single time I break down Jazz's fights. She is not good. She is big. And I've been on this podcast many, many times, and I've said physicality in women's MMA, sometimes that's all it takes. It really is. Sometimes it's all it takes is you've just got to be the bigger, meaner, stronger fighter for women's MMA to get your win. And that works for her. She's 34 years old. And in her last fight, Brandon, I did not trust my balls. I didn't have the cojones to sack up and take her as an underdog against Miranda Maverick. But I said to people that Miranda Maverick is somebody else who I've accused of not being very good, but simply being strong. And Jazz might be exactly the kind of fighter who can compete with that physicality and get a win as a big underdog. Sure enough, she comes through and the hype is back. Everyone's ready to rock on Jazz again because she upset the apple cart. Miranda Maverick's another one of these big popular women's MMA fighters that finds herself being minus 350, minus 400 every single damn time she's out there. I think that Tracy Cortez is better everywhere. She's got better cardio. She's the better striker. She's got better technical wrestling. I think she flows better as a grappler. When this fight gets tough and these two have been battling it out with each other the entire time, I trust Tracy to dig deeper and keep going in the third round and not give up that bottom position and accept on her back. I actually was super impressed. Gatto is my girl, okay? I love Melissa Gatto. I really thought she was going to be going straight through the roof on a rocket ship. Tracy Cortez's fight with her was absolute insanity, man. The raw physical strength of Gatto was something that was on display in every single fight she's ever been in, and Cortez was able to compete with her in that fight. Even when she gave up her back and got stuck in some bad positions, she always found a way to defend, reverse, roll out, get on top. It was phenomenal what she was able to do to get that win. And now 1.5 years layoff for a 29-year-old training at Fight Ready, being able to learn from those monsters. And not only that, we've got the revenge angle with her being single back on the market. I'm all about it, man. Give me Tracy Cortez. And if this market keeps going the other direction, I may even add more.
Wow. All right. Well, can you bring up that comment, the last one someone said? Yeah. Okay. Tracy's head in the game was weird how she pulled out of the last fight and no one really knows why. Well, we do know why. It's not my business to share. It's her own personal stuff, but we do know why. And it was something serious, and it was something it was something serious, right? And you're right. So the breakup angle is something big. Me obviously recently going through a breakup too. I totally understand that too. I will tell you this, guys. I've been around Tracy for a long time. I was her main training partner from probably 2017 to 2019, 2020. She used to just beat me up every day, and we've got a lot of work. Even for the Amanda Ribas fight, Santino had me come in and just try to armbar her. I didn't really watch the Melissa Gatto fight until 30 minutes ago. I've never been so impressed with Tracy in my life as far as the grappling. The striking for me left a lot to be desired. And I think that's the one problem in this fight. And I'll get to that. Her grappling transitions, I've never seen anything like that, because with me, I submit her every time, right? Santino would tease like, all right, Tracy, I'll give you $20 or Brandon, I'll give you $20 for every time you submit Tracy. And I walked out a millionaire that day. But man, she didn't let Melissa Gatto have anything. She just, the confidence that she had, the way that she fights for top position. I will tell you this about Tracy too, is she has some of the heaviest hips I've ever felt in my life, man or woman. She running into her hips is like hitting a brick wall, and she is so heavy on top. And a lot of times she gets top position just from girls not being able to lift her up and her just reversing to the top position. Her striking, this entire camp she's been in with legitimate, very good Muay Thai girls. And she was with a girl from AOJ. That's the Art of Jiu-Jitsu, a black belt who's phenomenal. So I would say this is, in my eyes, being objective and trying to give the inside scoop, right? I would say this is probably the most focused that she's ever been, just in my eyes. In the Hebos camp, there was a lot of emotions. Like, I remember her crying after so many training sessions, and I'd be like, what's wrong? And Santino was like, that's the best she's ever looked sparring. And I was like, really? She's like upset about it. This camp, she just looks focused and she looks fierce. All the issues that we've ever had with her in training, she's corrected, and she's just going toe to toe with girls who are straight Muay Thai. She's going toe to toe with girls who are just straight jiu-jitsu, toe to toe with men and women who are straight wrestling. She's a beast. Jasudavicius, I think she's got one path to victory here. I don't think there's a single girl in the UFC that's going to out wrestle Tracy. And I mean that. I mean, Tracy is a really, really, really good wrestler. Jasudavicius is an upper body wrestler, right? She's an upper body girl. She does a lot of upper body takedowns. She's very slow, very labored. But I do think that her path to victory here would be on the feet. And she's got to pop a jab and be big, right? She has to stop Tracy's takedowns, pop the jab, stay in her face, and then kind of do what she did to Miranda Maverick towards the end of that fight, where she just starts flurrying and going crazy. That, to me, is her only way to win. If we think about grappling as an entirety in 15 minutes, man, to say you're going to out grapple Tracy, like Tracy has learned, it's weird. Her style is so opposite of Santino. Look at Santino's build, right? He's like 5'10", 5'11", skinny noodle arm guy. And Tracy's like crunched him down, wide hips, like just like that. But she has adopted a lot of the things from Santino, like the back takes and the transitions. And it's really unique, and it's really weird how it works. Like, sometimes she would even catch me, and it was pretty incredible. So it's hard for me to see Jasudavicius putting together 15 minutes of a grappling clinic on Tracy. I think the striking gets close, but I think the second it becomes in danger, Tina goes, all right, Tracy, time for a takedown. And she hits an inside trip and gets the fight. And I want to say this too. She's 9-1 with what, 6 wins in the UFC or 5 wins in the UFC. And she's been like a pick'em line like so many times. What, the last like 2 or 3 fights?
I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And you guys got to like ride the wave. Like, I understand that this fight's probably closer, and it's a little bit of recency bias, right? Tracy pulled out of her last fight versus Jasudavicius, who Cash is a big underdog. There's a couple
always
fights
downgrade people after like a year-long layoff. Like, even though she won her last fight, it's been so long, they forget. They're just like, it's been forever.
And Gato's a tough fight, man. Gato is long, rangy. She hits hard. Like, there's a lot of good traits about Gato Jiu-Jitsu, which honestly I think is probably Tracy's biggest hole is Jiu-Jitsu. And she passed that test with flying colors. So it's what, Mexican Independence Day on the Noche UFC card. Like, use your heads a little bit, guys. I'm not just saying that as a homer, but TC is my girl, and I'd love to see her do well.
All right. I love it. And it's funny because, Brandon, when we set this card up, I didn't even think about who was on it. I look at the headliner and I set up my schedule. I love that we accidentally have you on the Tracy Cortez card. Thank you so much.
That's why I said yes for this one, because this one interested me, because I have teammates fighting, and C-Rod was supposed to fight on this one too, so it would have been double cool.
Speaking of C-Rod, the people aren't ready, man. People have bookmarked my tweet saying that C-Rod was going to win that fight, and I'm ready. I'm ready to look like a complete fool. I know C-Rod is going to come through in that spot. People aren't ready for what C-Rod's going to do to Cameron Simon.
Dude's a dog, man.
Can't wait. Cannot wait. And you know what? While we're tangenting here, I got to ask, how's Dern's wrestling looking? Because I have been saying for years now, if Mackenzie Dern could ever learn a double leg, she'd be UFC champion, and she'd hold that belt for a long time. Seeing the videos of her out there training with Henry Cejudo, working on actual literal wrestling, I am so excited.
I don't think Henry's going to be able to help her. She doesn't need open mat wrestling. She needs cage wrestling. Open mat wrestling. I mean, when does open mat wrestling almost ever work in the UFC, right? Almost everything's cage wrestling. And I think that's where Mackenzie's had a lot of issues. So she came in for, I think, 2 days. I didn't see her there. I wasn't at the gym then, but she left. So hopefully she'll come back. She'll be in full time. And if she gets working with Santino, that's going to be a deal. That's going to be a problem.
I hope she sticks around fight ready, man. I really do. I'm not kidding. I tried to fade her early on in her career, and she's one of those fighters that I just had to let it go because she was getting better too quickly for me to get ahead of her. The 1 or 2 times where maybe the fade would have worked, she found a way to win. And now if
Yep.
she's moving to a place like Fight Ready, she's going to be a monster. I can't wait. All right. So, folks, you got all the good shit. Get in there, smash the like button, follow Brandon if you haven't already. We're already up over 130 live viewers. Let's get this party started. Let's go. Next up here, we got Edgar Chairez taking on Daniel Lacerda. Oh my goodness, Brandon. He is back. The best 0-4 fighter to ever have graced the UFC. Daniel Lacerda comes on back around for one more. This kid is deadly for about 5 minutes. He comes forward, heavy plotting style, heavy on his feet, Muay Thai striker, big explosive attacks, spinning heel kicks, flying knees. He will sell out for that finish, but he's got no cardio. Can you remember when they put him at elevation? That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. The meme from my guy CJ Vergara sprinting away from him, literally just to wear him out, and then turning the tables on him and getting the finish. One of the memeiest fights in UFC history. I'm here for it. I love it. Edgar Chairez, 10-5, lost to Clayton Carpenter on Dana White's Contender Series. And man, he busted Clayton up in that first round. That was not a gimme fight. Like, we all thought Clayton was going to run through this guy, and he made it an actual contest. And then the UFC says, you know what? Let's give him Tatsuro Taira. He can't do so great with the grappling, so let's see, get Taira a win here. Again, he dropped Taira in the first round. He made it competitive. In fact, he probably would have won that fight if he didn't jump the ghillie. Professional MMA fighters out there, please stop jumping guillotine. This guy made a couple bad choices that put him on bottom, put him in bad positions, and Taira just took over from there. But he's got nasty striking on the feet, man. This is a fight that's not going to let down. It'll be a 60-second finish one way or the other, I'm sure. But I think Edgar Chairez is coming home here on this UFC Noche card that they're putting together. They're giving him somebody who's going to bang with him instead of a grappler. And after throwing him to the wolves a couple times, they're giving him a winnable fight, I feel like. I've got to lean with Edgar Chairez, but I can't get around this price, man. This is too much, in my opinion, too much chalk to lay in what, like I said, should be a high volatility 60-second fight. So what do you make of this one?
I couldn't disagree with you anymore if I had to.
Okay.
And the reason that I say that, watch Edgar Chairez, right? He's a very good striker, right? You watch him on the mitts. This is my weight class, so I always watch these guys and okay, how would I fight these guys if I had to fight them? And he is a super clean, long striker. But watch his last few fights. He is like low volume. He has to see everything, and then he'll kind of throw one out there. And when he does throw, it's with conviction. But it's like, all right, pause. I'm seeing things. Let's take a look at Lacerda's last opponents. Okay. We have CJ Vergara, dog in your face, doesn't fuck off. We have Victor Altamirano, dog in your face, doesn't fuck off. We have Francisco Figueiredo, who's a really good striker, in your face, doesn't fuck off. Jeff Molina took the fight to him, dog, doesn't fuck off. So you have 4 guys in a row that are just right here in your face, wanting to counterpunch, wanting to box, wanting to throw down. Chairez, he's good to skirt the edges. He's good to chill around the edges and try to defend takedowns and counterpunch from there. But if we're going to have an all-striking affair with 2 flyweights and neither of them will commit, I think Lacerda only commits when he sees that someone else will commit. He uses his athleticism to counterpunch, to throw knees, to throw these explosive things. But if you don't have a willing dance partner, then how's it going to work? I just looked, the over is 1.5 at plus 170. That to me is almost a system play with flyweights. Ooh. Yeah, to me, that's almost a system play with flyweights. I think out of all the people on this card, the one that could fail is Chairez here. Man, just the volume is so freaking low. And the grappling is a concern. The decision-making is a concern. I understand the play. I do like Chairez as a fighter just in general. He gave Clayton all he could handle, but Clayton just didn't end up being what we thought Clayton was. And I've known Clayton since he was little. I think this one could be the buster. I think I actually like Lacerda for the win. I think at a certain point when things have gone wrong 4 or 5 times in a row and you're just gassing yourself out, going crazy, at some point, maybe at the 5th loss in a row, your coach has to sit you down and go, listen, man, you're very talented. You're very good, but maybe let's reel it back just a tad bit. And realistically, he has to win about 8 minutes of this fight. then he can gas out. Just don't die. You could play guard for the rest of the fight. Doesn't matter. But to me, this is the one upset spot, and I like the over in this one.
Okay. All right. We got the upset spot and the over call here from Brandon. I love it. Like I said, man, I'm picking the other side just because I don't trust the gas of this kid, but it's kind of pick your poison here, right? Like, are we trusting the gas? Are we trusting the fight IQ? Like, that's why I'm not touching it. Edgar Chairez minus 225, Daniel Lacerda plus 180. I don't hate on
Lacerda has neither
anybody.
of those. It's funny. He has neither of those. He just has raw talent and that Brazilian acai, you know.
The Brazilian acai will get you places, though, man. It really will.
Yeah. I need to take a trip.
Oh, you love to see it. Yeah, I can't imagine you on the acai. That'd be some good shit right there. I think
I'm not already.
I know. Look at that. Look at that. Puffing up a bit. You in a good way. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right. Next up, everybody, we've got Roman Kopylov taking on Josh Fremd. And oh baby. I think this is going to be a very popular play this week. And I can't disagree with it, man. I've tried to fade Josh Fremd at every corner. I've tried to. He's got tall man's defense. He's huge. He's like 6'4". The guy's gigantic. So, can't knock him too hard for having the tall man's defense. But the big thing is, and everyone laughed at me, Brandon. Everyone laughed at me. I did take a little bit of a poke of a shot on Jamie Pickett by submission at 20-1 in their last fight because Josh Fremd tries to get submitted in every single fight. Like literally tries to. If Jamie Pickett knew what a hook was, not with your hands, but with your legs, that fight would have been over by sub in the second round, okay? I could have taken Josh Fremd's back and tapped him out from that position. He turtles up, he gives up his back, he gives up his neck in every single fight. And if Jamie just knew how to throw his leg over the back of his opponent, this thing would have been over and Jamie would have won that fight and I would have looked like a genius. I can't trust Josh Fremd as far as I can throw him, and I'm not very good at judo. Roman Kopylov started off as a pure striker, got his ass beat by Albert Juraev and Carl Roberson, took a little bit of time off, rounded out that game. Dude's on a 3-fight winning streak, all by finish. Alessio Di Sirico, Ponahele Soriano, and Claudio Ribeiro. Now, granted, it's not the highest level of competition, but he's handling these boys, Brandon. Like, he is absolutely murdering these guys that he's beating. The striking is impressive as shit. The hips seem to be good. The gas tank, it was a bit questionable. It was a bit sketchy early on. Seems like he's kind of working out those problems. In fact, he's getting late finishes instead of slowing down. So you love to see the improvements that Kopylov is making in this spot. I like Kopylov a lot in this spot. I think he's a parlay piece. We add him to the running parlay here on this card. Fremd on the short turnaround, those holes in his game. He's talking about a bad performance against Jamie Pickett. Man, you can't train shit in this amount of time. He's going to be the same guy coming right back around into this fight, and I think it's going to end worse for him on Saturday. I'm taking Kopylov.
I mean, no more needs to be said. I've been so long-winded on the rest of these answers. Just as a fighter, I love watching fight films sometimes when I see things that I haven't seen before. And Kopylov's striking is really, really, really beautiful to watch. Specifically his liver kick. The way that he throws the liver kick is something I've never really seen before. He almost like shorts it. He just fires it like right up. And you're like, why doesn't everybody do that? And most people's kicks are these really like big movements and huge things, but his hands are very clean. He sets it up with a beautiful jab, and then he just flicks. That's the best word for it. He flicks the liver kick. Gorgeous. Fremd, he's another one of these guys for me that I had followed a lot on the regional scenes, like the LFA. And even then, he's always been brought in as A side, and he could never really be consistent. He'd win one, lose one, win a couple, lose a couple, and they were always fairly close. That last performance against Pickett was one of the worst performances I've seen. And I think this is a case where recency bias absolutely should be in play. And it actually is almost worrying that Kopylov isn't minus 500, 600. Because, right? Yeah, it's a little bit concerning to me because, I mean, I don't see Fremd really taking him down. And if he does, I don't see him really keeping him down. Cardio-wise, I think he's decent cardio-wise. But and maybe that's one thing that Kopylov is not great at. But man, Kopylov is just good. He just really is that good. His striking's so beautiful. Nothing more for me to say. I got Kopylov here.
Okay, glad we agree on that one. I will very much agree with you, though, on that point that I was a little nervous because I expected Kopylov to be around the minus 400 mark. So the fact that he opened up like minus 250 or so, that's the parlay buster range right there, man. Whenever it's a minus 250, that's the one you got to sweat. So that's a little questionable here to me, but I'm just hoping and praying that maybe there's just just enough support on Josh Fremd out there in the market that they're maybe trying to keep it a little low or something like that. I don't know. Let's see here. My guy Mushroom asking, what is the running parlay? So Mushroom, we're saying this is a very chalk heavy card. And so far, the only fight that we've been able to identify any kind of a dog on is my guy Brandon likes Daniel Lacerda in the last fight. But so far, we've basically picked all favorites since then, unless you count the line flipping on Miss Cortez. She is the favorite at most places and definitely should be in most places. My guy Boston Nick trying to jump backstage and get in here on the show. Just so you guys know, Pub Sports is live for the Monday Night Football game right now. We've got 2 streams running at the exact same time. And Nick, it's funny you say that because Jimmy actually was chilling out in my stream when I jumped on to start the show. So you're not the first one to make that mistake tonight, my guy. Brandon, real quick, what are you thinking, man? Jets or Bills tonight?
What sport is that?
The one with the ball in the foot.
I don't know, man. I don't know any of the. I don't know.
Fair enough. MMA stream. We'll keep it going. We'll keep it going. Next up, you've got Lupita Godinez taking on Elise Reed. And man, I know every once in a while you're gonna get a dog coming through, but like this card is so chalky to me, Brandon, and it's so obviously chalky to me. You know what I mean? Like Lupita Godinez. She's a mauler in there. She's strong. She's physical. She's got decent wrestling when she wants to go to it. Her boxing is improving. It's a work in progress, but she hits like a truck. She's so physical and strong. I actually really like Elise Reed. I've gone to the Elise Reed well a couple of times, and she's been alternating wins and losses since she made it to the UFC. And even though the Corey McKenna one was a questionable split decision, doesn't matter. It stands, even though Jinyu Fry, if she had just not abandoned the grappling, she probably wins that one. But you know what? It's a win. Like, I like Elise Reed striking. I actually really do. If she can keep you just right at the end of her punches, she's dangerous, man. She lumps some people up. She hits hard for this weight class. She's fun, but she's got no grappling to speak of, man. If you grapple Elise Reed, put her on her back, she's got no answer for it. Like defensively, she's okay. She throws up a couple subs every once in a while. There's no real threat there. So she's not really improving in like the wrestling or the cage grappling area that she needs to keep the fight standing. I think Loopy mauls her. I just think this is another big favorite who's being put on a showcase card, being given a soft matchup, and she should get the win. She's minus 370 for a reason. Add her to the running parlay. I like Lupita Godinez, man.
Loopy broke my heart, man.
She hurt a lot of people.
No, I'm saying like she actually broke my heart. I was supposed to go on a date with Loopy. We were talking, and I was supposed to have a date with Loopy, and then a week later, she started dating a wrestling coach, and it broke my freaking heart. I saw her when she fought here in Phoenix, and she come out with these beautiful eyes. She's jacked. She's tan. She's gorgeous. I said, Loopy, I got to talk to you. Yeah, she's awesome. But she's most of all, she's just a really good person. I really like her. I love her skill set. I actually weirdly liked her hands a lot better in LFA. Her hands in LFA, she wasn't afraid to let it go, and she wasn't so robotic and just stiff. She was almost like traditional boxing, just like flowing and throwing and looked great. But man, even that being said, I don't see a place that she doesn't cover Elise Reed. I get Elise Reed, is kind of a clean striker in the zip in and out and throw straight punches, but I like Loopy's volume. I like her in and out. I think she's stronger, just a physical specimen. I wish she would get back to her grappling a little bit more. That is one thing that she has kind of abandoned over time. And you have, Cynthia Calvillo, who I think is a lot better than people give her credit for, especially just defending and takedowns and grappling transitions. Angela Hill, who, has been good at defending that kind of stuff in the past too. And I heard Loopy was hurt for that fight. So, I pray that Loopy has a coaching staff that goes, hey guys, let's look at this tape. Let's take the path of least resistance in this fight. Like, at any point you can take her down and probably keep her down. And I say that probably keep her down because Loopy's jiu-jitsu is poor. I do not rate it very, very high. Even in her wins, right? That one where she went for the armbar from the back, and like if she doesn't get that, she's falling off. I don't rate her jiu-jitsu very high, but her wrestling is very good and her motor is very good. So even if she takes her down and doesn't keep her down, she's going to throw a couple punches and go right back to it, right? So I love Lupita in this spot. I don't see a place that she doesn't have Elise covered. I love all these new matchups. Everything that we got new is better than the previous one for me.
Completely agree. This is yeah, man, I like it. And again, it just always makes me nervous. You know, I'm a contrarian bettor. I'm the guy that tries to find the weird angle that the other person can win. And all these are just so obvious to me. It's making me uncomfortable. It's scaring me here. I'm sure one of these will get a parlay buster somehow. Someone will stub their toe or some shit. But I like the favorites here a lot, man. Dixon asking the good questions here. Do you think we get over or under 3 takedowns in the Loopy fight?
Wow, that's a really hard question. If that's what the line said at, I probably would just pass on it, because realistically, it could be 1 takedown per round. Elise doesn't get back up, so it could be 1 takedown per round, or if Loopy's feeling it on the feet, she's going to just say, I don't need to do that. She hasn't really put together a complete wrestling game plan since she fought Carnelossi. So I don't know. That's, to me, playing with fire. If Elise was like butt scooting, standing back up, I'd say smash it. She'll get that easily, but yeah, that's a dangerous one for me to play.
Yeah, that's a tough call, because really, like you said, it could just be 1 per round. So that's an interesting angle, but you can't ever trust Elise Reed to do anything off her back, much less try to get up. I don't see that taking place. So, all right, everybody, real quick, time to pay a couple of bills. First off, Pub Sports Radio, right here, your home for the Die Hard MMA podcast. Look at your boy. Look how awful I am at predicting football. We've got the Pub Sports Radio Cappers contest going right now on the website. I went 1 and 4 of my 5 picks last week. I would like to point out here that I lost, I think, 3 of these by a hook, though. So I was close. But we've got the weekly UFC contest. It is free to enter. $100 on top. Pick your fighter, pick your round, pick your method. And there we go. You got the cappers, picks, and bets tracked on the site right there for you. If you missed anything, check it out. Come play with us. Come enter. It's free. Next up, Spectation Sports. Use promo code DIEHARD for 20% off if you want to watch regional MMA. Last month, slow month. This month, we are back at it. Attitude MMA, Cage Titans. We got all kinds of good stuff coming back to you. Make sure you check out Spectation Sports. Next up, you have got the Sharp app. We talked briefly about that football game that happens to be starting right now. If you like baseball, basketball, football, even if you don't like them, but you want to make money on them, the professionals over at the Sharp app can help you with that. I will put a link to the Discord in the description of this show. Make sure you go check them out. Their pros have been absolutely crushing since football season got started. And last but certainly not least, my personal favorite, Bet Openly. Remove the juice, ladies and gentlemen. They are offering us a way to gamble with each other, cut out the house, 1% juice. Everybody makes more money. And I think I know where I'm going this week, because I already talked about how my first play was going to be my most confident play. And by the way, if you live in a state that doesn't have betting, this site actually operates under DFS. So in like California, you can get on Bet Openly, even though they don't have betting, so you can bet Dana White's contenders in UFC if you log on and use it. But I think I'm going to go with Tracy Cortez this week, folks. But the beauty of it is with the reduced juice. Look at this. She's minus 125. You can get her minus 108 right here on Bet Openly, and you just need somebody on the other side of the bet to take your action. There's no house, so you're not going to get limited. My guy, Matty Betts, made a $1,000 bet on Sean Strickland last week, and he just took everybody's Israel Adesanya money. People were piling in hand over fist to accept that action. My man walked away happy after that one, and he gave everybody better odds than you were getting laying Izzy minus 650 at any other book. It was, I think, minus 535 on Bet Openly last week. So seriously, it'll save you money long-term playing, just pulling the juice out of it. Everybody go check it out. I will get a link for you here in just a moment. In the meantime, let's get back to the breakdowns. We have got Fernando Padilla taking on Kyle, the Monster, Nelson. And the very first thing I have to do, Brandon, is apologize to the Monster, Mr. Kyle Nelson, because I have drastically underestimated his ability to grow and evolve his last couple of fights. I've done nothing but try to be on the other side of Kyle Nelson. I didn't believe that he was UFC caliber. I thought he was chinny. I thought he was gassy. And he has turned his entire career around. I mean, he was on a 1-4 run, managed to get a draw against Duho Choi in the one spot that everybody absolutely was hand over fist on Duho Choi. And then he upset Blake Builder in his last fight in a spot that I thought Blake Builder should have absolutely ran away with this guy's lunch money. He was able to implement a phenomenal game plan, keep it safe, keep it at range. He's using that size, he's using that length, and he's pacing himself so much better. He's just not gassing the way that he was before. I am really impressed with the last couple of fights from Kyle Nelson. That said, that out of the way, Fernando Padilla is a fucking monster, man. I love this kid. I called the KO over Julian Erosa in the last fight. Nah, it was a little bit of a questionable stoppage. I get that. I know they stepped in a little bit quick there, and Juicy J is maybe a little chinny, but this kid is so clean. His hands are so fast. He's so long. The accuracy on his punches, the speed. I mean, Kyle is going to have to like cage clinch this guy for the entire fight. And if he can't keep that up for 15 straight minutes, I think he's a dead man walking. Add it to the parlay. I really like Padilla to go ahead and get the win here. And I wouldn't actually be shocked if he got another finish.
Yeah, I'm not as high on Padilla as you are.
Oh, okay.
He's fine. He's serviceable. There's a couple of things I don't like about him. Now, naturally, he's got a really long body, but he keeps his hands so close to his face. You know, one thing that, you know, at least in principle that Santino teaches, Santino, when he strikes, Santino's a phenomenal striker, right? He's fought K1 before. He's fought a lot of big promotions. He keeps his hands flared out, right? And when we're out of range, he keeps them flared out like kind of here. So if people are throwing hooks, right, it hits off the forearms, right? There's no need to be so glued to your face all the time, right? You're just seeing where the punches are coming from, right? With this is offering some sort of distraction. And Padilla keeps it just so close to his face. It's just always so close to his face. And for that, he gets hit quite a bit. On the same token that when he does throw, he squares up his body so much to throw. And you watch, he squares up his body and like ducks down. And guys are constantly tagging him when he does that, right? He'll throw boom, boom, and then come back up with it. And he does it quite a bit. I watched that in like 2, 3, 4 fights. He just kept doing the same thing. Now, my first bet, I didn't even realize this. I think this was when I very first started betting almost ever. I think I remember where I was. I was at like, what is it? Sushi Brokers. When Fernando Padilla fought, was it Nate Richards? I think the little jacked black guy, and he was like a slight underdog, I believe. And I bet on him, and I was like, hell yeah! I made like a couple $100. I was feeling so good about myself back then. I like Padilla. I think he's fine. He's serviceable. He's long. When he does throw, he is pretty accurate. The one thing that has been mentioned over and over and over again is that he slows down. And the one thing about Kyle Nelson, you're right, I've underrated him, is he has finally learned how to fight. And when I say that, people know how to strike and they know how to wrestle, but they don't know how to fight, putting together a complete 15. And he did that, right? He figured out against Builder, when's his time to turn up, when is his time to hang back, when's his time to defend, when's his time to go. The thing that I worry about Padilla is like, first of all, the price I think is gross. I think this should be a lot closer to a pick'em fight because you have the length and the kind of precision of Padilla, but you have the dog, the UFC experience, and probably the grappling of Kyle Nelson. So I don't know. I don't know. Like if you're saying like, if he can't get the grappling going, he's a dead man walking. Like I could see him cage push and just dog and bully Padilla for 15 minutes too. So this is one of those, just like I was telling you earlier, I have to go with like the trend and with the flow. So I'm going to pick Padilla. But I don't actually weirdly love his volume either. I don't think he's not one of those really tall, rangy, skinny guys like a Charles Jourdain, right? He's tall for the weight class and skinny and constantly putting out volume. He's kind of like picking his shots and slow, hands are glued to his chest. Like I'm not in love with the guy, but I'm not going to ignore the sentiment here. I'm not going to ignore, at range and Kyle Nelson being a little bit slow, a little bit boxy. So I'm going Padilla. It's probably my least favorite of the favorites on the card.
Okay. That's a fair way to put it, man. It really is. And that's where, You know, this is a situation kind of like a Chepe spot, right? Like I've been burned by Kyle Nelson. How many times am I going to just keep on lining up the parlay against the guy? So yeah, I'm picking Padilla. This might be the one where I buy the price down and say, you know what, if he's winning, he's probably finishing. So let's just play the finish prop on him and keep him out the parlay. That might not be a bad way to go on this one. Make him a single instead of making him part of the parlay. But
also
like
too, right? He's come back 2 times in a row. He beat Builder, who I think they wanted obviously to win, and then he went to a draw with Duo Choi. So it's his time to lose now. Like there's always these things you can't keep getting away with it, and you can't keep doing it. So like now is his time to finally lose.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I like it. Okay. So more and more lining right back up on the Padilla side. That's going to be where I end up one way or the other this week. Next up, you got Daniel Zellhuber taking on Christos Giagos. And it's almost like the last fight, man. Daniel Zellhuber, just a monster prospect. 13-1, the golden boy, training at Extreme Couture. And I think the UFC likes this kid. I like this kid. Like they are building him along. Like you look at the people that he's getting matched up against and stuff like that. It really feels like they're trying to make something of Zellhuber. And the Ogden fight just, what the fuck was that? Like it's tough for him to go ahead and get the L to Trey Ogden there in his UFC debut coming off the Contender Series. But it seems to me like they're trying to build this kid. Loves to kick from the outside. He is so fast. We've said people are fast on this show a couple times tonight. This kid is so freaking fast. He's got nasty knees and elbows in close. He really showed, in my opinion, higher fight IQ against Lando Venata. Didn't rush anything. And honestly, man, in that fight, I'm shocked Lando didn't get finished. In that first round, this kid was beating the brakes off of Lando. Like, what did the ref need to see to step in and stop that fight? Somehow they gave Lando the benefit of the doubt. He's got that dog in him. He's a savvy old veteran, worked his way back to the feet, and then proceeded to get his ass beat for another 13 minutes instead of taking the round 1 KO loss. But it easily could have been over, and it could have been over early. This kid is looking better every time he gets in there. I love the way in the deep into the third round against Venata, he was cutting the cage off really well, and he was kind of corralling him with like big kicks and big hooks, trying to keep him in a corner, pin him up against the fence where he could really unleash on him. Couldn't quite get Lando out of there, but I love to see the evolution. He's big. He's 6'1", 6-inch reach advantage. Giagos, I talked earlier about the guys that I forgot existed. I totally forgot about Christos Giagos until his last fight. I had to remind myself, like, I didn't think this guy was around anymore. He's 20-10, and honestly, man, I've got a lot of questions about what Christos Giagos is good at. He's very physical, very strong, seems to be an okay offensive grappler, and he's really rigid on the feet, kind of robotic, a little stiff looking. He's well muscled, but it seems like he's trimmed down a bit. Obviously, off his last fight, still very explosive, caught a big shot and put Ricky Glenn down, something that I was not expecting to take place. I think he's low-key a little chinny. You run back some of his older fights, and it seems like he's just kind of barely surviving some of those, striking exchanges. I think this is another showcase spot. Well, obviously, it's on the no-check card. I think Christos Giagos got maybe a little bit of a fluky win over Ricky Glenn in his last fight, and they're giving him a guy that's going to have 6 inches of reach on him so they can bank him and put him down. I think those chin issues show up, man. I'm expecting Zellhuber KO and probably pretty quick.
Yeah, this isn't a question for me. Zellhuber's this is like a regional fight. This is like a bare knuckle, like MMA pro versus a crackhead kind of fight. Giagos has no cardio, really bad striking, and he's offensive with his jiu-jitsu for a little bit, and then he's content to just make horrible decisions and gas out. Like this is probably the best price versus outcome on the whole card, I would say. So yeah, Zellhuber easily.
Well, now gotta ask though, Zellhuber or Campbell?
Zellhuber what?
Zellhuber or Campbell?
Well, I mean, Campbell's minus 400 and Zellhuber was like minus 225. So Zellhuber.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
But they're both going to win easily. And I would say more of a guarantee is Campbell inside the distance than Zellhuber, but they're both, I mean, what are we doing here?
Okay. I like it. Listen, you know what? Just for shits and giggles, I'm going to remove like all the other legs that we're building up here in this rolling parlay here. And let's just say Zellhuber and Campbell. And that's not bad. $100 will get you back 76. That's not bad. I mean, for a chalky parlay, that's one that you could probably really get down on. I like it. I like it.
Campbell KOs minus 145. Pretty crazy.
Oh, geez. And it always, I hate it when it's minus on the KOs. Like, I can't get Khalil Roundtree KO minus 150 out of my head when he was fighting Marcin Prachniow. And then proceeded to drop the decision on everybody. Oh, rough times. Bad scenes for everybody. All right. The return of Raul Rosas Jr. up next, taking on Terrence Mitchell. We've talked a lot on this card about setup fights, Brandon. We've talked a lot on this card about spots where the favorites should roll. And I apologize, guys. This might be the fastest podcast in diehard MMA history because there's just not a whole lot to say. They're literally bringing in the Alaska FC guy. Like, this is bring it on back, Raul.
Is this the fastest episode that you've had? It feels like it's not that fast. I feel like we're talking a lot.
I could, you know what, man? I'm trying to give the listeners something to chew on a bit. My shows are usually like an hour and 40 on the short side. So for me to be nearing the end on the hour mark, we're like, I haven't done hour-long shows since I started. But man, it's Terrence Mitchell. Like, I cannot believe. Did you believe there were people betting Terrence Mitchell against Cameron Simon? There were actually people out there putting their hard-earned money on Terrence Mitchell against Cameron Simon when they made that fight. Couldn't believe it.
You can't take them seriously. That's not a thing.
Couldn't believe it. I make some dumbass plays. I've bet a lot of really stupid underdogs. I would never. No, man, you can take the fighter out of Alaska FC, but you can never take the Alaska FC out of the fighter. This is the clearest setup spot on the entire card. Raul Rosas Jr. smash. The kid is 18 years old, and I talked about it in his last fight against our boy C-Rod. That it's like they push him a little too fast. He doesn't quite have the well-rounded game. He doesn't have the experience yet. 18-year-olds make mistakes. That shit happens. He's a kid. Now they're getting him back on the training wheels. They're giving him a winnable fight. He's going to finish this guy probably very quickly.
Yeah, this is the easiest opponent that he's ever had. Everyone can say what they want about Jay Perrin, but Jay Perrin is tough, or at least he thinks he's really tough. And he's done some good things, right? He took down AQ. Yeah. He rocked AQ. He's done some good things. Good fight with Diego Silva. Like, he's fine. He's serviceable. He's a tough guy. You know what? What's funny just about that it's Sean Shelby's fault. It's the matchmaker's fault, because they saw Josh Weems take down C-Rod. And I kept telling everyone, I was like, it was just C-Rod wanting to go for a knockout. That's all he was trying to do. He was just trying to go for a knockout and just forgot, like, we're allowed to grapple too, because he just wanted to headhunt and kill the guy. And then Josh Weems takes him down. And then once C-Rod was like, all right, the hell is going on? Then he just kills him, right? And so the UFC just didn't know that. That's all they saw was Weems taking him down. What they didn't realize is that I'm training with C-Rod every day, and I'll get him down. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's got the heaviest hips of all time. He pops right back up. You know, they didn't go back and watch his Junior Cortez film from Contender Series. And so they gave him probably the worst possible matchup. And it's funny is I feel like my style and Raul Rosas style are like mirrored. Like, we're just really good cage wrestlers, back takers, and that's how we go, right?
Stick to you like glue.
Yeah, and so C-Rod had a good mirror for that fight, right? He got me trying to do that shit to him for months, and so I think he was just like, this is Brandon all over again. Fuck this guy. But his knees, clinch, elbow, everything was good. But that being said, everyone was hard on Rosas. Rosas does good things, man. He is good. I don't care what anybody says. He is young,
absolutely, and
he's phenomenal. He really is that good, and they pushed him a little bit too fast and a little too much hype, but he's phenomenal. His cage wrestling is probably better than 95% of the UFC. Like, honestly, I think it's like the Philly boys, and then it's Rosas, because he pulls people off the cage. He changes stuff together. He mixes in the jiu-jitsu, right? Even guys that are good cage wrestlers, most of the times they get the takedown and then they just pop right back up. So it's only the Philly guys and Rosas using the jiu-jitsu with it. And it has to be hand in hand. Yeah, I mean, what are we doing here? What are we overthinking? Like, this is not even a close one. This is like, add this to the parlay.
Yeah. Minus 650s, not my style. This is the one. It's okay to add this one in there.
Yeah, I mean, just add inside the distance and just have a happy life.
That's fair too. It's probably minus 300 for inside the distance, but that's also, I think, probably shorten the price just a little bit. This kid's special. I know everybody gets on him. They make fun of the chin and stuff. Rosas is special. He's going to be something. Just give him a couple years. Kid's going to be a monster. All right. Next up. This is the one. We have got the MMA Twitter Civil War of the week. We've got the one pick'em line on the entire card. Kevin Holland taking on Jack Della, Maddalena. And it's funny, man, because we're building up this parlay. We're walking down the line here going, favorite. Add them all in. It's going to be easy peasy. And then you get to this one. And it's like, oh my God, like I really should have a hot take for this fight. I should be able to cut a serious promo here because this is maybe the spotlight fight on this entire card. Man, this is a coin I don't need to flip. Like Jack Della, I think is a beast. I think he's an absolute monster. I know a lot of people are down on him after his last fight. He went to a split against Hafez. I'm speculating here. You know, this may not be factual information that I can back up with research, but I think he thought he was going to walk through Basil. I think he didn't take Basil seriously. Obviously, you don't have time to train for a short notice fill-in opponent like that or anything like that. But I don't think he played that fight well or smart or intelligently. He didn't work back to his feet. He didn't defend the takedowns. Like he just did everything he could to get that guy out of there. Didn't realize Basil's made out of iron and he wasn't going to be able to finish him early or easily. I'll bet you that fight is not as close if they run it back a second time. Jack Della is still a beast. He's got some of the cleanest boxing we've ever seen. He's got power in his hands. He always is striking in combinations. He flows, man. He's going to have to get inside though. Kevin Holland has a height and reach advantage in this fight. Cannot be understated. He's going to be, I think, 6 inches of reach in this spot. And Holland's striking is slick. We know all about the grappling. We know he's a high-level BJJ belt, black belt. We know Big Mouth knows how to sink in that Darce, which cashed us a nice big fat ticket against Michael Chiesa last time out. A lot of people talking about the wrestling. He's not going to wrestle. We know this. You can't trust the fight IQ of Kevin Holland. That's the biggest point for me, is that I have to be absolutely 1000% certain on Kevin Holland if I'm going to back him, because shit like the Wonder Boy Thompson fight happens where he's got it in the bag and literally decides to have fun out there instead of winning the fight, and he'll take an L that way. It happens. He's done it a lot. So I can't trust Kevin Holland unless I love him. I don't love him in this spot. And frankly, there's so many people jumping at the opportunity to fade Jack against a guy who is not a primary wrestler. I kind of feel like Jack's probably the side. Again, maybe a coin that I just don't need to flip, so I'm probably not actually going to bet this one, but I'm going to pick Jack Della.
I'm with you actually 100%. Right. And here's why. Again, recency bias going on here. Everybody's going, man, his last fight he was so bad. And honestly, that's true, right? The going for the guillotines a million times and the decisions that Jack made was not good. That being said, watch the Angelusa fight. This is the thing too. I love Gugabe. Was it Gugabe on Twitter? I love him. I really do enjoy his breakdowns and his little things. But man, the guy hates Jack for whatever reason. And I want to just tell him, like, bro, it's just because you don't know ball. You don't know jiu-jitsu, but he actually does know jiu-jitsu. And so it pisses me off because I'm like, why aren't you just saying the exact same thing that I'm saying? I love his coach. Was it Dan something? He's the old judo bastard, just toughest guy on earth. He was the guy that like limped to the cage every single time with the double knee
judo
braces.
Dan Kelly?
Yeah. Okay, I thought it was Dan Kelly, but I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, he's a tough bastard, man. And that's his coach. And what's really unique about his grappling is they use a lot of judo and a lot of roll throughs. His counter wrestling is really, really beautiful. They use a lot of switches, roll throughs, like holding onto the arm, ducking. It's gorgeous. I actually love his grappling. I think it's so severely underrated. It's crazy. In the Angelusa fight, right? He went into a lot of crazy grappling transitions, and then everyone wants to point out to the fact that Ange got him in the head and arm. Fine. What's his name? That dirty Russian. We just had to bring this up the other day. Who's the Russian guy that?
Which dirty Russian, man? They just posted a guy zip tying people in Home Invasion on Twitter today. Which dirty Russian?
Yeah, no. The one that Jack fought. Who's the guy that Jack fought?
Shit.
We always forget him because it's not an Av. It's like a crazy name.
Ramazan Ameev.
Yeah, Ramazan Ameev. So, yeah, and Ramazan got him in that. And honestly, that one was a lot closer than Angelusa. That one was so close. And that reminded me almost like shades of Volkanovski, right? When he was with Ortega, where he just was like, God. No. He had to like take a second and go, wait a minute.
Don't remind me about the doesn't go the distance bet that I didn't cash that night. Oh, God.
Just reminds me of, he just had to like sit there for a minute in the choke and just go, wait a minute. I'm a superstar, and superstars don't tap out to this kind of stuff. So give me give me unconsciousness or give me death. And so he got out of it, and then he just looked like a superstar. So for him to do all of that and then go to and even knocking out Randy Brown, like knocking out all these guys that he is, Danny Roberts, who does move well and is athletic and is decent everywhere. He's beaten some good guys. I like
in round
you
one.
Look at in round one, it's super.
He's
impressive.
Not even struggling.
No, the guy's a superstar, man. And this kind of reminds me of like Tracy. It's like this guy is a superstar and was supposed to fight on last week's card against Kevin Holland. Is the UFC making that matchup in Australia for Jack to lose? I don't think so. Right. Go back to a couple fights, right? He was Kevin Holland struggled with Tim Means sometimes. He struggled with Cowboy Oliveira striking sometimes. It honestly took him a while to catch his rhythm. You said something, you're like, man, he's so good at striking. Kevin Holland. Is that what you said, or what was the words that you said?
I mean, I think I said he's so good at striking when I was talking about Jack. I did say Kevin is really good too, but he knows how to stay long. I think if Jack gets inside him, he's in trouble though, man. And that tall, lanky body, that torso, body shots are going to be there all day.
Yeah, I was going to make a sexual joke, but it's probably better I don't. I don't honestly, like, it's weird. I think Kevin is good, but not traditionally good. His striking is fast and it's dynamic and it's awkward, but it's not traditionally good like Jack's is, right? Jack is a pure, traditional, beautiful boxer, puts combinations together. Kevin is just so long and so athletically gifted that he throws shots and they are hard and they are powerful and they're fast, but they come at weird angles. And so because of that, a lot of times he is getting countered in the pocket, right? Even against Buckley, he was getting countered a lot before he finally found the kill shot. So, I mean, it's hard for me to see, like, I think Kevin would have to fight a smart fight and he'd have to come out and wrestle early. And even then, Jack's still probably going to get back up to his feet and then they're going to go back to striking. I know everybody's so much on the Kevin train. This reminds me of Marina Moroz from a few weeks ago, right? Everyone was like, no, Marina's going to do it. And then you just have to sit back and go, like, there's a superstar in this fight. Like, why are you going to fight the current at a pick'em line? It doesn't make sense to me. So I got JDM. I think the guy's skills are good. I don't think he's going to make the same mistake with the guillotines, nor do I think that Kevin's going to push a grappling pace like that. And if he does, like, fine, I'll lose my bet. All good. I think I trust Jack here.
I'm with you. I am with you. And honestly, I was one of those Moroz fans that the day of the fight, man, you were talking about it. I kind of did the same thing. I woke up and I looked at it and I was like, I've tried to bet against Karine Silva so many times. Fuck, here we go again. Like, you know what I mean? I almost knew it was a loser going into the fight, but it was like, can't do shit about it now. I already put the analysis out there and put the bet out there. I got to go down with the ship on this one. No, yeah. I'm with you though, man. I think Jack Della finds a way to win this fight. And
there's one of those every week. Like even Saint Denis, right? You were talking about me with Saint Denis. That one was the one too. Like all the people that I hang around with and I talk to about fights, they're like, yeah, Thiago Moises. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, Thiago's the side.
God of War.
I know it. There's one of those every week. And this week feels like it's Kevin. Everyone's taking Kevin.
I'm with you. I completely agree with you. And honestly, man, one point real quick on Benoit. I talked about how in women's MMA, physicality makes the difference. That boy is making that happen in men's MMA. Like, he may not be the more technical fighter of the two. He's just hell in a handbasket, and he's going to let you know it the entire 15 minutes. Like, you have to be better than him, and you've also got to be able to survive the onslaught. And I just think there's not many people that are going to pull that shit off. So, if he gets better, he's only been doing MMA for 5 years? Like, if he keeps improving while he's that dynamic, athletic, strong, and huge for the weight class, Benoit's going to be a fucking problem, man. I'm telling you.
Yep.
All right. Main event time, folks. We've got 120 live viewers. I know Monday Night Football's on, but Aaron Rodgers is already injured and out of the game. So don't bother. Stick around right here. Hit the like button. Let's get into it. Main event, Alexa Grasso taking on Valentina Shevchenko. Deuce, run it back for the second time. The rematch. All the marbles. I love this fight, Brandon. I loved it the first time around. I love it this time. And I love that they disrespected my girl Grasso yet again. I bet on her last time. In fact, I bet on her a second time live last time. One of the biggest scores I've ever had because I just kept hammering the plus 300 ballpark they were giving me on her in fight. This is exactly Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards. The first fight, it looks like a fluke. He barely pulls it off. He finds a way to win. The second fight, he solidifies himself as the champion. It's a dominant performance and leaves no questions that he's the better of the two. That's exactly how this fight sets up for me, in my opinion. The first fight, it was close. It was competitive. Valentina looked like she was starting to edge it a little bit. Grasso refused to take that answer and found a way to win the fight. But she was competitive in all those exchanges. She hurt Valentina Shevchenko with her boxing early in that fight. In round one, stunned her with some big shots. Her boxing is clean. She hits really hard. And it was tough for Shevchenko to get the takedowns early in the fight. Now, as the fight kept going on, Shevchenko started having more success with the grappling. That's kind of the biggest hole, in my opinion, in Grasso's game. Her BJJ, she has come leaps and bounds grappling. Her BJJ is slick. The wrestling is where she needs to work on it. And she's had all the time between the first fight and this fight to drill that takedown defense. If she keeps this fight standing with Shevchenko, she's going to be very competitive in the striking. I think she's the better jiu-jitsu player. Shevchenko is on that downward slope, my friend, and it's been changing of the guard season. These older fighters with big contracts, they're getting right out of the way. The young kids are coming in. They're taking over, and it's disrespectful to make the champion the underdog in this spot. I tweeted the bet out weeks ago. I got plus 200 on Alexa Grasso for 2 units. I saw this one coming a mile away as soon as it dropped and said, gotta have it. She is now sitting plus 135, plus 140. I understand people might want to take a buy low on a GOAT status type fighter like Valentina Shevchenko, but we've seen her slipping in her last couple fights. Shevchenko doesn't have that aura about her anymore. All the skills are there. She's still one of the best damn fighters on the planet. I'm not trying to take anything away from her, but I think it's rising and falling stocks. I got Alexa Grasso in this spot, man.
You are the Andrew Gombas this week, man. You got crazy CLV. Good for you.
I tweeted at him. I was like, where are you at, Gombas?
Yeah, your market moving, man. That guy can change. He can flip a -6. If he starts betting on Terrence, whatever his name is, he'll flip that line in 20 minutes. That's
no
crazy.
Kidding. Him and his army.
Yeah. So it's funny. I would think I was the only one of the few. So it sounds like you picked her last time too, but I was one of the very few podcasters that said Alexa Grasso. I said, there's just something about it right now. I don't like I don't like a lot of the things that Valentina does. And I said, I think Alexa is going to win this fight. And then I went to the comments and read all the comments, and it was, you're so stupid. How the hell do you even have a show? And what's funny is most of the times when people say that to me,
that's how you know you're right.
No, they always win. Like there was one, the other week when I picked Sean O'Malley and I talked Santino into Sean O'Malley. I said, he's just going to win. I don't even think Aljo's going to be able to get him down. And I think, he tires out and he doesn't have good striking. Sean will knock him out. And one guy went into the comments and edited his comment and was like, you know what? Great insight. I think that Sean will knock him out in the second round. Cheers, everybody. And it was just funny to me because his original comment was,
you guys don't even deserve where it changes it back.
Oh, no, I didn't. But it's funny because his
some
original
platforms do that where you're like, see original comment.
Yeah, because his original one was like, you guys don't even deserve a show. If this is the kind of advice you're giving out, how could you even say something like this? It's going to be the easiest fight of all time. So it's just funny to me. And that's what, that was the feedback that I got when I picked Grasso. And I didn't even have a lot of analysis for it. I don't love main events. I don't love Valentina Shevchenko fights. There's not a lot of love about any of that stuff. And I just said, Grasso's going to win. I just have a gut feeling. It's time. This is going to be the one. I did the same thing with Nunes and Pena won. If I would have done the podcast last week, I would have said the same thing with Strickland because I'm like, how's his line so wide for a guy that spars every day of his life? It just seems crazy to me.
I hate that I missed that. I was too focused on Ty. I should have spotted the Strickland call.
Yeah, but this one feels weird to me because I think at any point, so the things that I hate about Valentina, she's very precise, but she's very low volume. She lets girls get off on her and then she'll fire back and hope that it's a little bit more powerful than the other. So she's extremely low volume. She doesn't take cage control anymore, right? She lets girls back her up. She can get taken down. She's susceptible to that now. And when she does, she lays on her back for good chunks of time. And she thinks that her jiu-jitsu is much better than it is. That being said, the second that she wanted to shoot in and take Alexa down, she did. I think so. There's two instances and kind of like what you're talking about, right? So the first one you mentioned was Usman and Leon, but then the other one is Pena and Nunes.
Pena's not a younger fighter, though. That's the big difference.
Yeah, it's just an example, right? One kind of like caught her, and it was a huge shock and huge surprise because they could fight 100 more times. That same sequence isn't going to happen again.
Yeah.
Perfectly flying onto the back and hitting a rear naked choke. That's not gonna happen twice. So I think
No, it
all that
won't
we
go
can
that way.
analyze is the first, those first few rounds and how the striking exchanges were and how everything else was. Valentina, I think this is for her legacy. She has to get this one back, and I think she's going to have to employ a much more offensive game plan. So I totally understand what you're saying. It is disrespectful to have the champion as the underdog. It seems a little crazy in a fight that was very competitive, and she did win. And it seems like the former champion's on the decline. But man, minus 160 on Valentina, who at any given time does have the tools, right? The low kicks, just the quick striking, the sniper like precision. Honestly, the offensive grappling, hate her defensive grappling, but offensive grappling, she's a tank in there. So I have to jump off the train of Alexa Grasso, and I'm going to jump right back to Valentina. And I've never picked Valentina. Like, I don't know what it is. I can never get behind her. I pick against her every time, and now I'm on it. So let's see how this goes.
Okay. All right. Well, hate that we disagree here on this one a little bit. I really do. I love my number though. I got in at plus 200. Like I said, I don't mind anybody buying low. If you're in here minus 140, minus 150 on someone with the resume like Shevchenko, it's hard to argue that. It's hard to say that that's not a good bet. So I don't mind it one bit. And anybody that tailed me and got in early live on the plus 200, you can lock up free money right now. You can arb out as much as you want on the other side of this thing. I'm going to ride or die, man. I'm going to stick with that plus number and I'm going to take it. Actually, I think that this is going to be almost identical to the Usman-Edwards fight. I do think that it'll be a defensive grappling focus for Alexa Grasso, and it'll extend the fight. So instead of getting a finish like we did, it's probably going to be either a decision or even like a late KO. Because like you said, if Valentina Shevchenko does come forward, if she does get more offensive, if she tries to push the pace on this thing, we talked about it earlier. It's when you're trying to kill somebody that you get caught. If she comes and forces a barn burner, we saw Grasso hurt her on the feet last time out. She could put her away with the hands this time too. So I'm not ruling out more of a knockout than a repeat sub, but I actually kind of think it's more of a decision spot.
All right, fair enough.
All right, folks, that is Noche UFC. Thank you all so much for being here with us. We appreciate you watching the show, hanging out, supporting. Hopefully we get back on the horse this week. We're going to get some of those units back in our pockets and make maybe the first ever official diehard MMA PRP. We're going to steal the PRP from Cody this week and build a multi-layered parlay. Not my style. I think we might do that this week. Brandon, feel free to send the people your way, man. If you got stuff you want to shout out or plug, right now is your chance. Have at it, my guy.
Yeah, check out Santino DeFranco on YouTube. So if you guys haven't seen our show, man, we got a lot of push from, Lock of the Night back in the day and your platform. So if you guys haven't checked it out, we've been doing Contender Series, me and this guy, Pierce. Santino is actually in Vegas and he will be there all week because he has Contender Series tomorrow night. And then he's got Tracy this weekend. So he will be there. We're going to do a podcast probably tomorrow. So you'll hear the same breakdown, but with Santino's stuff. We have a Patreon Discord there. So go sign up for the Patreon. It's $25 a month. We cover a million events and it's a really cool place. Brandon will leave us on Instagram, Santino DeFranco, MMA breakdowns and bets on Instagram. So just go follow us all the platforms. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, man. It's always good.
I love having you, man. Love talking fights with you. So we will definitely do it again. Thank you for spending your hard-earned time here with me on this evening here. Mushroom with the $5 dono. Thank you for the donation, Mushroom. Great show. Great guest. As usual, would you consider being a guest on my show? Of course, Mushroom. Of course. You can DM me, my man. You don't have to corner me live on the show. I'll say yes. I'll come hang out with you and do a show. That'd be fun. All right, everybody. One more time, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Kick some ass this week. I hope you took the under on this football game because nobody's scoring shit. Get out there. Good luck on all your degenerate action. We'll see you later on in the week for the total takedown and, of course, the undefeated post weigh-in show. Smash the like button on your way out. Make your mama proud this week. Have a good one, everybody.